In the midst of time, the history of the Richard riot, which was due in part to Maurice getting into a battle with Hal Laco in a game in Boston, prior to him being suspended for the playoffs, which caused him a scoring title, which maybe cost Montreal the Stanley Cup in '55. If a lot of people don't know the incident, Laco was a rugged player that Richard had an ongoing feud with. He got into a tussle with him, struck him several times, and in the furor of his anger, struck a linesman twice when the linesman was trying to stop Richard from battling back to get his revenge. But this was not the first time that Maurice Richard had ever been involved in something negative in an NHL game. Now, when NHL President Clarence Campbell suspended Richard in March '55, according to Brian McFarland's book about the Habs called The Habs, which came out a few years ago, he might have argued that he had long erred the side of leniency when called upon to judge the frequent on and off escapades of the temperamental right-winger. So this podcast will be quoting from McFarland's book, and he used the information that was compiled by hockey writer Gord Walker, who, according to McFarland, reached into the newspaper archives and listed some of the turbulent episodes in which Richard was the central figure. Now, this is not plagiarism, just as me reading Brian's great text. So it's basically a narration, or what they call an audiobook version of what McFarland put together. And I hope you enjoy it. I enjoyed reading it, and I enjoy passing it on to you, because I didn't know that Richard was so dirty. I thought it was just only a few incidents, but I guess not. Now, April 10th, 1947. In a Stanley Cup playoff game in Montreal, Richard slashed Toronto's Vic Lynn, who was knocked unconscious and required 6 stitches to close a cut over his left eye. Later during the same period, Richard slashed Bill Zinke's head for 8 stitches. The Rocket drew a major penalty for the first offense and a match penalty for the second. He was fined $250. March 3rd, 1951. He was fined $500 for allegedly physically molesting referee Hugh McLean in the lobby of a New York hotel. On the night prior to the attack, Richard had been given a game misconduct penalty for fighting in the penalty box with Leo Reese. Then Richard struck linesman A.D. Beetham with his stick. New York and Boston writers protested the leniency of the decision, pointing out that Ted Lindsay, terrible Ted Lindsay, and Bill Zinke had each been fined $300 and suspended for 3 games for a stick-swinging bout earlier in the season. Halloween night, 1951, during a game in Toronto, Richard swung his stick at a railside spectator. After the game, he swung his stick at another patron. No disciplinary action was taken. November 1st, 1951, the next day, he whirled his stick over his head to deter Toronto's Ferd Flaman as both players raced for the puck. Both players started to fight. Now, during the battle, Richard was seen to kick Flaman in the chest with his skate, like Mikhailov in Game 7 and 72. Then he punched Bill Judza to the ice. Richard drew 2 majors under misconduct, an automatic fine of $50 accompanying the later penalty. No league action was taken. Now, on October 21st, 1952, Richard was fined $10 in costs for assaulting a policeman at Valleyfield, Quebec, where the Canadiens played an exhibition game. He was in street clothes, nursing a groin injury, when he took exception to verbal abuse from the fans. He got into a fight and punched a policeman during the scuffle. Now, January 21st, 1953, Detroit Jack Adams warned Richard to behave, or else. Adams claimed Richard cross-checked Marcel Parvo, knocking out 2 teeth. The following night, Richard broke Glenn Scove's nose with a board check. Richard said Adams was full of bull, and that I just got mad and took a run at everybody. Now, March 9, 1953. General John Reed Kilpatrick, president of Madison Square Garden, protested a mere 5-minute penalty to Richard after the Rocket whacked Ranger L. Kuhlman over the head with his stick, slicing opening his scalp for 8 stitches. Now, December 13, 1954. Richard apologized to lead President Campbell for articles written by the Rocket for the Rocket, in a French language newspaper. Part of it is seen in the Roy Dupuis version of The Rocket, the movie that won several awards a few years ago. Now, in the articles, Richard referred to Campbell as a dictator, and he said he smiles and openly shows pleasure when an opposing club scores against us. He suggested the league president was guilty of racial discrimination, and added, anti-French of course, if Mr. Campbell wants to throw me out of the league for daring to criticize him, let him do it. Now, after accepting the Rocket's apology, Campbell ordered Richard to post a $1,000 bond as evidence of good faith. Now, December 29, 1954, Richard charged Leaf rookie Bob Bailey and butt-ended him in the face, knocking out 2 teeth. He repeatedly tried to retrieve his stick to renew his attack on Bailey after the fight between them was stopped. Richard flicked his glove in the face of linesman George Hayes and refused to leave the ice were ordered to by the referee. He was fined $250. Now, NHL President Clarence Campbell once said, "Fines never bothered Richard. For every $250 I fined him, Quebec businessmen would send him $1,000. Richard could do no wrong in Quebec. I was always the villain." Now, according to Red's story, and he said this many times, Big Final quoted the book and published reports, he said, "There will never be another Rocket, even if they're playing hockey 1,000 years from now. I played every game, refed a few thousand, and seen a lot of dedicated men. I never saw one like the Rocket. Never saw one born to score goals like he was born to do." Now, the fire in the Rocket's eyes, that's the thing, especially when somebody would whack him. But the idea, the terminology, don't wake him up. You know, you go to a bar and you see somebody at the bar, he's an old fighter, you say, "Don't wake him up." It always started with Richard. You would tell rookies who come to the NHL, you know, let him score his goal, but don't wake him up because he's going to score 3 or 4. Now, Richard had a chip on his shoulder because coming from the poor background, all the pressure he has. But the call, like abject depression, like you see in 2021 that some athletes suffer from. Maurice was going through that. He had all the behavior of a depressive person. His biggest battle was with himself, but instead of he didn't know how to divert his anger. He took it out on the score sheet, and he took it on the opponents. But the fact was, maybe they didn't respect him enough. In 2021, you got a player like Maurice Richard, they would maybe back off a little bit and not wake him up. And this fact, you see that more in baseball later on. I give an example. Reggie Jackson, Billy Martin woke him up. The reason why he scored hit 3 home runs in '77, he won all those titles with Oakland previous to that, because the manager that was in charge, or the owners were in charge, basically challenged his really. Maurice Rocket Richard, there was not one person on the opposing teams could even be conceived being better than this guy, so he would attack him. But like I said, he took advantage of that. So the level of respect he had for Beliveau was much more than he had for Maurice Richard. Even Henri said that. He said, "I don't understand," because he was the first of his kind. There would be no Wayne Gretzky or Ovechkin and Connor McDavid and all these great superstars. Maurice Richard paved the road, literally and figuratively, because we went on the road. Oh my God, the fans were just beyond him. The fans weren't the problem. The players should have known if they would have went towards Richard. There was no enforcers back there. There was no John Ferguson protecting Beliveau and Richard, the pocket rocket, later on. So again, the great Brian McFarlane, I'm very proud to narrate some of his texts, and all attribution goes to him. Thank you, Brian. If you like what we're doing here with our hockey podcast, some of it are narrations, some of it are my own observations, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And by the way, I met John Beliveau, never met Maurice Richard, but I know a billion people cried like babies in Quebec and the Maritimes during Maurice's funeral. You got to be from the Maritimes and Quebec to really understand it. And I know that sounds weird, but if you're Acadian and Quebecois, Maurice Richard, just like Yvon Durell, was our king, our prince, and our god. And Beliveau was that a little bit, but there will never be another Maurice Richard. No matter if there's billions and billions and billions and billions of people playing hockey from now until the end of the universe, there will only be one Maurice Rocket Richard. Have a good day. Bye.